I'm not scared of big things. I'm not scared of taking my daughter to drive in the highway after just practicing in the parking lot. I'm not scared of moving at 22 from South America all the way to Canada without even a visa. I'm not scared of leaving corporate for one day and then saying, hey, I'm going to start my business on my own and going registering myself. Those big things I'm not scared of doing because I know that it won't ever be perfect. I know there's no tangible thing out there that can give me a frame of reference saying, this is perfect, this is how it's supposed to be, you need to achieve this. There isn't. No one has done anything perfectly. So I don't have that frame of reference. Then why am I scared of to start? Because there's nothing I can compare to. So I just do it. And this is not an irresponsible thing to say. You just need to start messy. Start exactly where you are.
Great title for a podcast, Blessings.
Thank you. Yes, I love it.
What a great meditation.
We are here to learn in the spirit of life.
I'm all about believe. You're about spreading blessings. That's great.
What about your blessings? What's the biggest blessing of life?
What a great question.
Because it's the Blessings podcast, I have to ask you, what is your biggest lesson in life?
My biggest lesson in life.
A whole lot of conversations with people about life and how those things manifest as blessings and lessons, and sometimes both.
It's my connection.
You're going to get schooled.
The journey is the journey.
What you and me are searching for are the blessings in this life.
Remember the reality of how sweet people are.
Spread blessings around the world.
You are the most remarkable energy. You make me pause, make me excited, make me think, and make me spontaneously come up with an answer. This is another one of those great moments in time in my life. Thank you for reaching out to ask if I would do the show.
Welcome back to Blessings, my friends. Have you ever made a friend on the internet and then connected with them in real life and found them to be just as lovely in person? That was my experience with my guest today. Cristina Yun spent over 13 years in the corporate world and now works as a brand strategist based in Canada. She is a creative woman with a talent for crafting stories that touch the heart. She uses personal experiences to inform her empathic connection to others. Cristina has many interesting aspects of her life that have allowed her to learn deep and important lessons, including the unique characteristics of her Korean heritage and growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. She is a hardworking single mother who does everything with a focus on making the lives of her children easier than her own. She is loving, kind, compassionate, and beautiful. Welcome, Cristina Yun, to the show.
Thank you. Amazing bio. I need that.
You can put it on your website. All right. So I thought we'd start off with something big. I read somewhere in your stuff, you said, don't confuse authenticity with being honest or your real everyday self.
Mm-hmm.
So let's unpack that a little bit. What's the difference between authenticity and being your real self?
Your real self. So I let's do a comparison.
Okay.
My real self in my house, I don't wear makeup. I just put a ton of moisturizer in my face. I put SPF and I wear glasses. I wear a very comfy gown. That's myself. But also when I go out, I put on full makeup. I put makeup on. I love putting lashes, falsy lashes, and I wear something more presentable. That's also myself. There's huge difference between how I look at home and how I look when I go out. When I go out, I'm still myself. I'm me, but it's serving a purpose. I'm stepping out of my house, being at home to going out to the society. I have an intention of going out. I have an intention of meeting people. I have an intention of why I'm meeting those people. Who I am needs to meet that intention for that to actually have a result. So, for example, if I'm going out to meet clients, I'm not going to go dressed up with my gown, my home gown. I will wear something more presentable, pretty, with a color that I think it's more suitable to the weather and myself. But I'm still myself. So there's a huge gap on who you really are in the privacy of your own home when you're being lazy or you're being comfortable. But there's also that self that you are that is accepted, also presentable for the society, and also to fulfill that need, to fulfill that intention. And there's a gap in between. Authenticity is that gap in between those two. If you're super different from who you are outside of your home and in the privacy of your own bedroom, if that gap is so big, and this is not just what you're wearing, but your personality, the way you talk, how you feel things, your values and your beliefs, the bigger that gap, the less authentic you are. You're putting on a mask to go out. But the smaller that gap is, then you're authentic, because even though you're putting that little mask to go out so you could be presentable and achieve that intention that you had when you went out of your bedroom, it's still not as thick. It's still you, but let's say acceptable, prettier. It's when you go on a job interview, you want to be yourself, but you're not going to wear pajamas just because that feels like yourself. You need to go and present yourself to fulfill that intention. And you can still be you. You can be authentic. So I usually say it's the difference of that thickness of a mask you put. The thinner the mask, the more authentic you are.
Wow.
And the
Okay.
thicker.
I love that. I love that. You put that in such a beautiful way, because you can be many different versions of yourself and all of them are authentic.
Yeah.
But if you're going out into the world and you're putting on a persona or you're playing a game or wearing a costume, that's not authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't believe that we can be authentic 100% of the time.
Ooh, talk
I
more
can't,
about that.
because there are people around us, there are situations around us, there's an environment around us. We live in a society, we're tribal beings. Some needs to fulfill the survival part of us. Some needs to fulfill the role we want to have in that setting. So if I'm going in a mom's group, I'm not going to be, just because I'm authentic in how I do my marketing and my branding work, I'm not going to be talking about branding and marketing in my mom's group. I'm going to talk about potty training. But that doesn't make me less authentic. I'm still me. But there's that layer, a different layer of that mask. But the thicker the layer you put, where you have to hide yourself, where you cannot be vulnerable, where you cannot show up as yourself, then the less authentic you are. So to me, there's different levels of authenticity. And I think it's a very blanket statement and a very irresponsible statement to say, be yourself, be authentic, because we can't.
Very interesting. I'm going to have
Mhm.
to think deeply about that. That's really interesting. It's a good take. When did you learn how to be your authentic self in your life?
When I had kids, and not just when I had kids, lately. When I do podcast recordings like this, or when I'm talking to my clients, my office is in the middle room in between their room, my room, and the family room. When I have meetings like this, my kids listen. 100% of the time when they're home, they're listening, they're walking by, and they're always present when I'm meeting clients or my friends. So if I'm not authentic, they call me out. They, Mom, that's not who you are. You never use that kind of words. Mom, that you don't talk like that. And I realized, yeah, I'm different. I can't be like this. What is that mask that I'm putting that I'm not myself when I'm with my kids, when I'm with other people? And I started meditating more. And I realized, yeah, authenticity comes when you can be vulnerable, but you can be really truthful to yourself without having that agenda.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting. But just because your kids perceive you one way and you're acting a different way with clients or friends, it doesn't mean that it's not authentically you.
But my values and beliefs need to be the same. Have to be. They are the same.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
this it comes with that, not the way just you look and talk, but in the way you express yourself, in a way you share your values and beliefs. You need to be authentic. If I tell my kids about respect, and then they see me being disrespectful to a client because I want to earn that income, and they see me manipulating the conversation, then they're going to say, Mom, that was disrespectful. That's not you.
So
If
they keep you accountable.
I want to think that they keep me accountable. I always have that in mind, that whatever I say It can be heard by my children. Wherever I go, it can be watched by my children, and that keeps me accountable. That's my accountability.
I
hat.
love that. They're your little
Yeah.
checks and balances system.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, did you find the same kind of relationship with your parents that you have with your kids in that nice little reciprocity, that little balance thing?
No. And I think this is why I became the way I am today, because I saw a lot of in the religion, in politics, in the leadership of religion, there was a lot of things that were not very authentic.
So you
And
grew up in the Jehovah's Witness religion, right?
yeah,
And from the time you were born?
I wasn't born in the religion. My mom and dad became Jehovah's Witnesses when I was much younger, but not, I was not born. Yeah.
Okay. So how did they get into it?
I think my mom said that her sister became a Jehovah's Witness when she was in high school. So long time ago. So she preached to my mom, and my mom learned the truth. They studied the Bible together, and she really loved the ideology, and the principles Jehovah's Witnesses have. And I still do too. There are a lot of things that I still practice. I love about the religion, but there are things that I don't anymore. So my mom and dad became Jehovah's Witnesses, and they dedicated their full-time service to preaching the word of God.
So let's go back a little bit. Your parents, are they originally from Korea?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did they come to Canada?
They didn't go to Canada.
Okay. Tell me the
immigrated-
story.
They immigrated to Paraguay. The story was that my dad was supposed to immigrate to Canada somewhere in Manitoba. The job that was offered to him was to serve in a community farming pigs. And he said, no, I'm not going to go work that hard. The second choice was to go to Paraguay, where he could be a missionary and also own a business to sustain his family. So he decided, instead of coming to Canada, I'm going to go to Paraguay. Paraguay is that little country that is in between Argentina, Brazil, and Bolivia. It's a Mediterranean country in South America. It's very hot there. In the summer, it's 40 degrees. I think it's like 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So
Wow.
it's very hot. And we arrived there when I was 3.
Okay.
And I
And-
grew up there until I finished university. And then I moved on my own to Canada.
So you actually went to school in Paraguay.
Yeah, we went to school in Paraguay, and Spanish is my first language.
Okay.
Korean is my mother tongue because it's the language my mom taught me to speak.
Oh, interesting. So you're trilingual.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. All right. So your parents began to serve the word of God through being Jehovah's Witnesses when they were living in Paraguay, and you were about how old?
3, 4.
3, 4.
So
All
my
right.
life is, I'm relearning my life now
So you're
after
relearning.
living. Yeah.
So after university, you came to Canada. Why Canada?
When I was 17, I went as an exchange student to the United States, to Ohio. And I stayed there for 8 months, and I fell in love with so many different aspects, especially the respect people have for personal space. The
Mm,
how clean things were, how systematic things were, how respectful people were. Because in the Korean culture and the South American culture, we love each other so much that there is less respect on personal space and personal stories and personal things, right? Like the community is so neat tight. And I really love that about the culture here in North America. So I had a dream of going back. I thought, oh, when I'm an adult, I want to live in the United States. And then I realized that it wasn't that nice. And then because we were in Ohio, Columbus, we were able to go to Niagara Falls. And then we came to Canada in a field trip. And so that was my first time actually seeing Canada. And then I realized, wow, Canadian people are nicer. They're gentle and nicer. And I thought, oh, maybe Canada will be a thing. So I just had in my head that I wanted to live in Canada. And when opportunities came, I was recruited. I applied for a job with Eaton here in Victoria, Vancouver, and I got a job for marketing. So when the opportunity came, I moved. And I
Okay.
arrived to the beautiful Vancouver Island of Canada, where they had flower baskets all around the main streets, hanging flower basket. I fell in love with that. The one aspect that I fell in love with, see, is that I went to gas my car and it was self-serve. And I thought, wow, you can just gas and nobody is watching you. Nobody. And then I looked around and there were flowers, those beautiful flower baskets that I saw on the streets. They were all out there, along with windshield wipe cleaners, water, a lot of things. And people weren't watching it. In South America, you can't think of that. People will steal it. You
Oh.
can't leave things outside. So for me, I thought, wow, I do want to live here. We're a country where you can put flowers and stuff outside and people are not worried about it because people trust each other. People respect each other's property.
Mhm.
To me, respect is such a strong value. And I fell in love with that. And I said, I'm going to do my best to stay here.
Mhm.
So the flower baskets, the hanging flower baskets and the gas station,
Oh,
I fell in love with that and I decided I'm staying here. So I
yeah.
worked through my visas and I immigrated to Canada.
Because those things represented freedom, autonomy, personal privacy, owning
Respect.
respect, having
Mhm,
things that you could count on were
mhm,
yours, that
yeah,
nobody was going to be able to take away.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And all that you're saying were things that we were I grew up very aware of. We will have people that come to work at the church to clean the church or to clean our house, the maids. We were always worried about, my mom will always say, hey, keep your things locked in your drawer because they can steal it. So we were always very protective of ourselves. So
Mhm.
I grew up thinking when people come to my house, they can steal things from my house. Being always in that survival mode of, oh, people can steal from us was so big that when I saw the moment where things were all laid out on the streets for people to just freely grab and nobody was doing, that was something that triggered something in me that I wanted. I wanted more of that.
Of course. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't
Yeah.
want that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like that must have impacted your sense of trust, your ability to trust.
Yeah.
So, is that something that you have had to deal with as an adult, developing a sense of trust?
I don't think so. I do trust people very deeply until they prove that they shouldn't be trusted.
Mm,
And I think that's a flip that I had to make to myself that because I grew up with that sense of not being able to trust people,
hmm.
that I consciously made myself trust people until they prove me wrong.
Okay. So, going back to the idea of authenticity and how you were raised in your relationship with your parents, and you said that you didn't have that kind of relationship like you have with your kids. What were some of the things when you were growing up that now you're having to reestablish or rework about yourself?
Authority. I don't tell my kids, you got to listen to me because I'm your mom, or you need
Mm,
to respect me because I'm older. I don't say that to my kids. I don't say it to other people either because respect is earned. You don't just you don't earn respect just because you're older, right? And not because I'm a mom, I have the authority to tell them. I do respect my kids in that level that whenever we have plans, I let them know of our plans. I ask their opinion, not because I'm going to listen to them and they have authority on dictating how our plans are going to be, but I respect them as humans as humans and members of this organization we have in my family.
mhm.
And then I think, oh, the level of opinion that they have could be less mature or less conscientious because they're children. And I didn't have that with my parents. Everything was the way my mom wanted because she was the mom.
Okay.
We know that one of the things that shocked me hugely was the one day we came home from school and she said, "Hey, pack your stuff in the boxes that I left here." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "We're moving." And I said, "When are we moving?" And she said, "In 2 days." And that happened very often. We moved a lot because we needed to serve a different community, because we needed to serve where the need was greater, because my dad's job, like his store was moving from another store. Endless excuses and reasons, but we were never questioned and asked. So we had to adapt to how long the bus ride was going to be to school, depending on where we were moving. I never had friends at school that were going to the same direction. We couldn't have play dates because we were always living so far away, depending on where it was accessible for them. And I didn't like that. And I didn't know that was disrespectful. I just thought, oh, that's authority. We just need to listen to mom and dad. We just need to listen to what church is telling my mom and dad to do. So it was more submission rather than obedience.
Mm-hmm. So you were always under someone else's authority.
Yes, in so many different aspects, even the way we think, the way I love myself, the way, yeah, in every area. So that's why I said I'm learning those things.
Mhm.
I'm learning now that putting my opinion and my judgment first, it's important, but it's also enough and valuable.
How long has it taken you to unlearn those things? Have you done it yet?
I'm still working on that. I'm
Yeah.
still learning that there are many things that I thought it was selfish are not selfish.
Such as?
Having a nap or taking longer in the shower because I'm using hot water, choosing whatever I want to eat instead of thinking of what my family wants to eat or what my mom and dad feel like.
I want to ask you something about vulnerability because you are very vulnerable. The way that you put
Mm.
yourself out there with your social media, the stories that you tell, and the way that you are able to share things about yourself to help you connect to other people in your community and in trying to let people see who you are, to
Mhm.
see they're a person who is going to be able to work with you in business. So, how does vulnerability tie into business in that way? What have been the hardest things for you to be vulnerable about?
Vulnerability. I actually think that I can be more vulnerable about a lot of aspects in my life because I don't feel that I'm a victim anymore. I laugh, I smile about it. It was a lesson. Oh my gosh, that was horrible. It happened to me, but I take it with humor because I can't believe that happened to me. And when I can go through that hump of being, oh my God, this is horrible. Why are people like this to me? Instead of that going, wow, that was ridiculous. And it happened to me. Like, what else can happen to me? I don't feel like I'm the victim in the story anymore. And I can see it humor. I not always want to see a lesson because some stuff just stuck. There's no lesson, but it just happens, and I just go through it.
Mm.
So for me to share is not very difficult. What are the things that are very hard for me to share are things that can trigger other people. For example, I learned that when I shared about how my mom survived cancer for 10 years, and it was so hard for us as caregivers to go through that journey with her. I feel like I'm triggering other people that wish their mom survived for 10 years.
Mm.
When I share how fulfilled I feel as a single mom, I am scared that I will trigger others that are enduring in a very tough marriage, but they choose to walk that journey to work on their marriage.
Mm.
When I say I'm so blessed with my kids because they are such a good contributors in our organization as a family, I sometimes feel like I will trigger other moms that have kids that are not as disciplined or kind and compassionate as my kids because I'm saying I'm blessed with my kids. That which in turn can mean you're not blessed, like you have a curse. I don't think it's hard for me to share, but I'm more conscious of how I use my words and how I say things, so I'm not triggering other people that would love the exact same thing, but they can't because they're living through the exact opposite thing.
Do you feel some way responsible for the way other people are going to feel about you or your life?
No, but I don't want to be the cause of triggering them
Why?
because I was in the opposite side
Hmm.
and I know how hard it was. There were times where my kids were hard. Like I couldn't go through some moments. For example, my son, he doesn't have a father figure. He doesn't have a male role model. And when I read reels that say, "Oh, when your son is this way, it's because he needs your dad. The boy need their dad," and I wonder, oh, is the struggle that Ian has because he doesn't have a dad present in his life? So if I go out and say, "Oh, my son is so good," am I triggering that mom that could be thinking, "Oh," because I've been there.
Mhm.
Also about marriage, I like being single right now, and I see myself so fulfilled and happy. But I also went through the times where I lived 10 years that I worked on my marriage so hard every day because I wanted to keep the marriage. And I salute the women that are there, that are struggling every day, but they're keeping their marriage. But I also know and want to say, hey, step out of that. Like you can be much happier. But because I was there, I don't want to trigger that.
My dad is 83 years young. Every morning, he sends my sister and I and all his grandchildren a good morning message. It's always something uplifting, positive, and encouraging. And it always says, "I love you." We all look forward to this, and we know that Granddad won't be around forever. So we really cherish these messages of love and empowerment. My dad loves to say, "Every day is a new opportunity." And that is what he taught me. That, along with how to work smarter, hold family dear, and go after my dreams. I know there are people out there who go through the motions every day with no one saying good morning, no encouraging word, and to support a positive mindset. And there are others who are doing all the right things, but still need a little nudge to create and maintain positive habits throughout the day. So in my dad's honor, I've created Your Positive Moment. Research clearly shows the benefits of positivity and connection. A recent Gallup poll showed a significant percentage of the world is lonely. Your Positive Moment solves these problems. These are messages that come directly to your phone first thing in the morning, so you can begin every day on a high note. The message includes a loving greeting, an affirmation, a daily reflection, and an easy action step to get you going in the direction of growth and fulfillment and transformation, and to help you stack up good habits. A simple daily message has the power to change your life. Get started with your beneficial morning message habit for free. yourpositivemoment.com.
I feel like triggers, though, are really mirrors for us. They're
Mhm.
places where we need to take a look. And maybe by sharing your experiences, if it triggers someone else, it's ultimately helping them, not harming
Mhm.
them.
Yeah. But before they can realize it's a help, it hurts first. Triggers, I think triggers, I like triggers because it teaches me. It reflects on me to see, oh, what are the things that I need to work with? But that's when you're in a higher level. When you're not at that level yet, all the triggers feels like arrows that are coming at you. And I have been there.
Mhm.
That healing journey before I was able to be there, I was one that I would feel attacked and defensive and hurt by those triggers. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are still at that level, and I don't want to be the one.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
why
can
people please.
understand that.
Yeah.
You're such a kind and thoughtful person. I can totally understand that. But I heard this just yesterday and I thought it was interesting because people like you and people like me, we want to help people and we want the world to
Mhm.
be better. We want it to be happy. We want everyone to be at their best. But I had someone say to me just yesterday,
Mhm.
we have to allow suffering because suffering is a part of life. And it's actually where we learn our biggest lessons. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna get emotional because suffering is the things that it's the one that triggers me the most.
Yeah.
I imagine my kids suffering, and that the worst suffering is something that sinks my heart right away. It doesn't even take me more than a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want that.
No, no one wants suffering. No one
Yeah.
wants it. But it's a part of life. And it's very interesting to think about the lengths that we go to try to avoid suffering and to try to help other people not have to suffer.
Yeah.
It's like the Buddhist saying, which is basically everybody wants to be free and not suffer.
Mhm.
Yet we are always caught in this cycle. Do you think it's possible to have a life with absolutely no suffering?
No, you need to suffer to learn. I know that. I know that part. And they say, oh, people need to learn it. And some people will learn it the hard way. But I always think, oh, would I want this for my kids? Would I want somebody to inflict this type of suffering to my kids? And that's my first layer of thought. Would I want this for my kids? And when my answer is no, then I don't do it. We do need suffering. Like it's taste testing, right? In marketing, we say A/B testing. You need to one needs to fail for the other one to succeed. To be successful, and you need to continuously do that to be able to find what is the more successful ways to do things to achieve the result and goal you want.
Right.
So I think life is like that too, and yet it's a hard thing to accept.
It is. I think that the hardest thing for me as a mother when my kids got to the point where they were not in the house anymore, and now it's been a few years that they've been on their own, all of them. And the hardest thing for me has been to watch them struggling. And they're doing well, but they struggle. They go through these things in life, that these ups and downs. And there comes a time as a parent when I had to step away from solving every problem or giving them advice or even bringing them groceries, all just simple things. And I still do, of course, give them things and bring them groceries from time to time, but letting them live on their own, letting them experience those things, because you take away their life lessons if you try to always be the one to make everything okay. And
Yeah,
it's really hard. It's really
yeah,
hard.
you're taking away that opportunity of growth and
Yeah.
learn, and I keep that in mind too. But I think it's easier said than done.
It really is. That's very true. But we have to take care of ourselves too, because we have to
Yeah.
be at our best, the best that we can be for them. So, what are some of the ways that you now are taking better care of yourself?
I am asking for timeout. So instead of if I see things that are overstimulating or where I am gonna lose my shit, ask for a timeout, and I just come to my room. I stop worrying. Oh, what are they gonna think? Are they gonna question? Are they gonna talk about me? Are they gonna wonder? Are they gonna suffer thinking that they hurt me? I just leave that out the door and I come to my room and I sit in my chair and do what I need to do until I can ground myself. Sometimes I will take a nap. Sometimes I will just go out and have a little walk around the neighborhood. Sometimes I will not check any notifications on my phone and just enjoy quiet on my own. And I'm learning still to do that, Mitzi. It's not, yeah, I'm trying to have that as an intentional moment every day where I can ground and just be myself.
Yeah,
I'm
I
taking
think that's
care
so
of,
important. So
Mhm,
important. How do you
yeah,
manage that? Because your youngest is she's 2, right?
yeah. And that was one of the things that I would think, oh my gosh, I'm leaving my child for my children to take care of because I need that time away. I felt selfish. I felt like a horrible mom, but that's the one I'm working on. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay. She can cry a little bit. If she misses me, it won't be forever. It would few minutes.
Mhm.
My kids, yeah, my kids can take care of her. It's their sibling. This is the contribution to this organization that we have. And it's a way to show respect and love towards me. So I'm accepting that. Those are the new narratives I am
Mhm.
learning to accept and tell myself so I can go have a longer shower, can go out to have lunch with a friend, come to my room and just have 5 minutes to myself.
That's so important for us to take that time, even if you can only grab 5 minutes, to take 5 minutes for yourself, to just sit in quiet
It
and do
makes such a
nothing.
big difference. Makes such a big difference, night and day.
Yeah, it really does. You have a business that's all your own, right? So you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about this because you're such a powerhouse. Like you're really a good example for people who want to be able to do this on their own. You talked
Thank
about
you.
feeling bad that you might be triggering women who are stuck in a relationship that they don't want to leave. And I think there are a lot of women in that situation where they're afraid to go out on their own. But you've
Yeah.
done it. You took the leap and you're doing this. Like you're making it work. You're an example of how it can work and how
Yes.
beautifully you do it. What is your best advice to somebody who maybe a single mom or maybe even just doesn't have kids yet, or someone who just wants to start something on their own that's just their own, not working for somebody else? How do you
Mhm.
do that?
You just start messy. I'm scared of little things like spiders or worms and parasites and fluoride, gluten, but I'm
Me
not
too.
scared of. I say fluoride because people, yeah, but
I'm
not.
scared
I'm
of fluoride too, so I get
Yes, you get me.
I
But I'm
do.
not scared of big things. I'm not scared of taking my daughter to driving the highway after just practicing in the parking lot. I'm not scared of moving at 22 from South America all the way to Canada without even a visa. I'm not scared of leaving corporate for one day and then saying, hey, I'm going to start my business on my own and going registering myself. Those big things I'm not scared of doing because I know that it won't ever be perfect. I know there's no tangible thing out there that can give me a frame of reference saying, this is perfect, this is how it's supposed to be, you need to achieve this. There isn't. No one has done anything perfectly. So I don't have that frame of reference. Then why am I scared of to start? Because there's nothing I can compare to. So
Mm,
I just do it. I really, it, and this is not an irresponsible thing to say. You just need to start messy. Start exactly where you are. You want to start your business? Go register yourself. Put it in the internet. See how people respond to it. Do you want to end your relationship and your marriage? Say it to your husband. Talk it out. Say why. You want to move to a different career? Then talk to your supervisor. Ask their opinion. Ask them to support you. Write it down. What are the pros and what are your cons? If you don't try, you will never know. There's nothing out there that tells you this is the perfect marriage. This is the perfect single life. This is the perfect entrepreneurship. This is the perfect business. If you're comparing to something that doesn't exist, which is an illusion, you're missing out so much in your life. And I missed out so much in my life. I'm in my 40s. I feel like I missed so much in my 20s, in my 30s, in my teenagers that I want to experience everything now. And not just for me, my children, they experience their first 10 years growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. They miss so much. They miss their first birthday. They miss going on Halloween trick or treating with their friends. And I know they have all pagan origins, but the fun that you could have, those memories you could have with your friends of dressing up, putting makeup on, doing hair together with your friends in the washroom. I missed all of that. My daughter missed all of that.
yeah,
So am I going to limit myself on things that doesn't exist? Not
right.
anymore. Not anymore.
No. So, what people might say is their biggest fear would be the money. How do you take care of yourself? Like when you were first starting out, what kinds of things did you do to make sure that you could pay the rent and have food on the table, things like that?
I have money enough to have grocery on my table and a rent. I That's something I have in my head that I always need to have. If my mortgage payment or my rent payment is $2,000 and $1,500, 1,500 is for my grocery, I need to make sure in my checking account there is $3,500 plus $500 extra to cover water and bills. If I have that, I would do it. There are times that I didn't have.
Mhm.
There were times that I thought, what am I going to do? I don't have money. But money is the last thing I think about before jumping and taking the leap, because money could be the hardest thing to achieve, but it's also the easiest.
And it always worked out.
It always worked. I don't check my bank account. And it's not because I have a lot of money. I don't check my bank account because it gives me anxiety, knowing how much I have and not knowing. And maybe it's because I have that cushion, knowing that whatever happens, I have money to pay my mortgage. I have money to pay my food. I have that always, that amount is always there. And that's my threshold.
Mhm.
So I don't check my bank account. And mm, I'm blessed that I have abundance in my life. I think it's that law of attraction too,
Mhm.
because I'm not thinking about the things I don't have, and
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about how privileged I am, how blessed I am, and how lucky I am, and how much I'm trying to attract to myself and being able to. I have abundance.
Mhm.
I won't lie and say there were months that I didn't have money. 3 months ago, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my house. But I didn't.
And now you have new clients coming in,
I have new
and
clients.
it always kinds of balances out.
Yeah.
So, what kind of things do you do? Like, what mindset tools to keep you in the state of abundance?
Investing.
Even in the face of not having enough money, like knowing that you don't have enough money to pay your rent in a given moment, trusting that's going to turn around for you. How do you keep your mindset?
Invest in people, invest in relationships. I had the chance to invest myself into a project that I knew I was not going to get paid. Easily, I could have said, hey, I don't get paid for that. Oh, that's out of scope. But I trusted that was an investment. It came to me. This is an opportunity. This door opened to me. I'm going to put my all and invest. Even if I don't get paid, even if this project doesn't work out the way it could work out, because you can see the opportunity that it can open to you. But even if it doesn't, I gain the trust of these people. I gain that relationship with these people. I'm very open to always invest in people in that relationship, because even if it doesn't come to me, Mitzi, whatever I do for people, even if it doesn't come to me, it will come to my kids.
Mm.
I believe that so much. If I
Mhm.
help someone on the road, I know that karma is going to come back, not to me, to my kids. I believe that so strongly that whatever I put out there, it might not come to my lifetime, but that's the legacy I'm going to leave to my kids. The relationship that I put in you. If my daughter goes to the East Coast and I tell Mitzi, my daughter's going to go to Pennsylvania, she's going to go to the East Coast, I can tell you. And then if she goes,
And she can come and stay with me.
see, and it's not just
Absolutely.
you, people in Toronto, people in Ohio. And I make sure that investment is there. That
Yeah.
I showed them compassion, support, and kindness in a way that it will return to my kids.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's the abundance I've seen. There
Mhm.
were times that I really struggled, and people will say, tell us what you want. We'll do it for you.
Mhm.
Just let
Mhm.
us know.
Yeah.
And I'm saving that. I'm not using it because, okay, should I use it? No, it can be worse. It could be worse sometime. So I'm just going to save that. And I have that. I have that. I always tell my kids, invest in people, invest in relationship. The kindness you give, the compassion and respect you give to them, that in so many different ways.
Mhm. It really does. That's beautiful. I want to touch on something you said just a moment ago about when you left Jehovah's Witness, the
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
and you finally were able to experience some of those things that you never experienced as a
Hmm.
child.
Hmm.
So, give me a story about something that you experienced for the first time as an
Hmm.
adult
Hmm.
that made you see that there was a whole different way of life.
Trick or treating. Jehovah's Witnesses, we go knock on the door and then we talk about the Bible and then we give them the magazines. And I love doing that. I love doing that, Mitzi, and I miss it. I miss going and knocking the door. There's this joy that you experience when somebody opens the door and just wants to know about you. They do get disappointed when they know we're Jehovah's Witnesses, but there's so much joy when somebody opens the door.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I missed that. And then my kids wanted to do trick or treating, and this is gonna be our third year. We just went twice, and my kids are so excited. But when I was able to take my kids to do trick or treating, people will open their doors happily to give you candy. That was the complete opposite experience that I had growing up.
Yeah. Trick or treating is so fun.
Yeah,
So it's only your third time. So
yeah,
was it only 3 years ago that you left the religion?
yeah.
Wow.
4 years ago. So the first year, I still felt guilty, like I was doing something really bad. So we didn't celebrate anything. And then slowly we did. Millie was born. So Millie's first birthday was the first birthday we ever celebrated.
Wow.
So my kids, they were so excited when we were planning Millie's first birthday. They were happy to choose the cake. I didn't, when I, when we had to organize the birthday, I didn't know what to do. Who do I invite? Do I invite babies because she doesn't actually have babies as a friends? Do I invite my friends that I didn't know? And that's a complete different thing that I never experienced. So I asked my friend, and then I said, "So how do I tell them to come? Like the time?" And they said, "That's the invitation, Christine." I go, "Oh, so I made the invitation, and then I said, "So what do we eat? Do I invite people and then put baby food? Who's the birthday for?" So those were little things that I had to learn that you never think of if you grew up celebrating them, right?
Mhm.
And that happened with her first birthday. And then my son's birthday was 5 days later. So he was super happy to celebrate his first. He invited his friends. I went on a Pinterest board. Now I had experience. I went to Pinterest board. I made cups of veggie straw. And then I realized boys don't do that. It's just pretty. So we started experiencing birthdays. We celebrated our first Christmas. And then I realized that, yes, all these have pagan beginnings. They're not always very Bible. It's not in the what God might like. It's not Christian. But what I learned, Mitzi, is the memories of organizing it, the memories of
Mhm.
when you're preparing, the memories of when you are at that moment. That is so precious.
Yeah.
And I feel like we missed out on all that for so many years. So my kids are teenagers. They're excited to go trick or treating, and now they say, "Oh, should we go?" Because teenagers don't go trick or treating, but now they have a baby that they're so happy to take with them.
Mhm.
So we love that. We look forward to the costumes
Yeah.
and going out and walking as a family.
Mhm.
We look forward to the theme we want to have for the birthday we want to celebrate. We look forward to what color scheme are we going to have in our Christmas tree. And we just celebrate. We don't do big parties with other people, but it's very private, very intimate, where we are actually enjoying and celebrating things that we didn't before. So we talk
Mhm.
about it for a long time.
Those are beautiful traditions. And they're
Yeah,
so much more meaningful to you and your family.
yeah.
Why did you guys leave the Jehovah's Witness religion?
I left because I realized there were many things that were not rightly done to the people. The biggest thing was the unconditional love that they say they have, that they truly don't have. When you make a mistake, they disfellowship you. And that
Mm.
mistake is questionable. It's a mistake, an error, a sinful act based on their books. But in other people's book, it's not. If you
Yeah.
find love, it's so beautiful. You finally found your first love. You went on a date. You held hands. For them, that's a big sinful thing. But for others, it's a beautiful thing. You finally found someone that you love. But
Mhm.
and then you make that mistake, and then you're shunned. Your own parents shun you. All those friends and the community that said that loved you so much unconditionally, now they can't talk to you. They can't acknowledge that you're a human being. They have to ignore you. You go and they turn around. They can say hello to you because it's simple. They tell parents to, you're going to show love by teaching them through discipline that they've seen so they never ever do it again. But in that meantime, the child doesn't know, doesn't receive the support they need. You can't just put them away when they do something wrong. You need to be with them. I
Mhm.
don't believe in timeouts. You need to time in. You need to
Mm.
be with them to give them the kindness and support and more love so they can learn through their mistakes with love. When I saw that, I realized this is not, I don't think this is God's way of loving. God loves unconditionally, but the people are loving you based on the conditions that they're putting in their book. I don't think God put the Bible rules, the Bible principle as a condition. If you abide by them, you're loved. And if you don't, you're not loved. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that judgment on people that was given, people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses saying, oh, they're not gonna survive Armageddon. They're not gonna be chosen, they're all gonna die. And I did not agree with that.
Yeah.
And once I started seeing more and more, when you're right in there, you can see that you're blindfolded. But when you start taking a step out, you start seeing it. And the more we stepped out, the more I started seeing it. And I didn't want to raise my kids that way.
Mm.
I want my kids to know what real unconditional love is.
That makes a lot of sense. And it actually brings the whole conversation full circle because it feels like that taps into the idea of authenticity.
Mhm,
Because you were noticing things about yourself and the world that were authentic.
mhm,
You wanted to participate in an authentic
mhm,
world.
mhm. And I wanted to be myself. There
Yeah.
were so many things I wanted to be, I wanted to do, feelings that I had to repress because it was bad.
Hmm.
Experiences that I wanted to have that they said, no, you can't do that. You can't go to a rock concert. You can't listen to rock. You can't practice yoga. There were so many things that was out there that could be so good for me that I craved that now I know are a big part of me, Mitzi. That
Hmm.
if I didn't live them and experience them, that's not myself.
And you knew those things were in there and you had to get them out. You had to
Yeah,
go and experience
yeah,
them. That's beautiful. So, what would you
yeah.
say are the biggest lessons that you've learned in life?
You need to experience things. You need to feel them. You need to walk them. You need to experience it and you make the decision. No, but don't allow anyone to do it. Not the Bible, not God, not your spouse, not your children, not your friends, not society. Go feel it. And it goes back to suffering, right? Like, even if you have to suffer, take the leap and do it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Don't be afraid of suffering.
Yeah.
Allow it.
Yes.
Gotta
I don't
allow it.
want that for my kids, but
No, we
I
don't.
know.
None of us do, but it's actually a gift. If we could look at suffering as a gift in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And what about your
Absolutely.
blessings? What is your biggest blessing in life, do you think?
I think it's my daughter and my son. My son is just like me. He triggers me the most because he's just like me. He's like a mirror for me. My blessing are my kids. Like, I have my family and I'm able to have the family I always dreamed of with my kids.
Mm.
They're not my why. I don't do things for my kids. I do a lot of things for me and what I believe in and on how the industry should be, how the world should be. But I'm really blessed with my kids, Mitzi. Like, I always tell my kids, I don't know what I would have done without you. And I think God, the universe, is teaching me through that blessing because there isn't anyone that teaches more to me than my daughter. There isn't anyone that triggers me and teaches me compassion and patience than my son. And then Millie, my feral little toddler, all the things that I used to judge on other children for being mischievous or being like little crazy, a little too hyper. She makes this face, and I go, wow, where do you learn that? I used to judge other kids saying, oh my gosh, maybe their parents are like that. Maybe parents are showing bad examples. So kids are so mischievous. And I realized that she's a complete different little being and she's doing things. The other day she had something on her hand and I said, Mitzi, what do you have it? She threw it out under the bed. Had I seen that in another child, I would have right away judged and said, oh, maybe the parents are, that's a learned behavior. And I was like that. I used to judge other kids like that. Quietly, silently, within inside my head, but I used to be that judgy mom because Karen and Ian were not like that. But Millie, no one ever hid things from her. And that's not a learned behavior, but she just does it. So that's a life lesson for me. I'm learning not to be so judgmental because I
Yeah.
see, yeah,
That's what our kids are there for, to teach us those things, for
Yeah.
sure. Do you think you have created the family now that you wish that you would have had as a child?
I would like to have a life companion. I
Mm.
would love my daughter to grow. Here and Ian did not grow up with their dad. The biological dad is not present in their life, but Milly's dad is. And I want Millie to experience to be dad's little spoiled little girl. I want Millie to grow up with a very strong father figure that she can look up to, see him as the best man figure that she had in her life. I want that. But he's not my life companion. We co-parent. So I would like a life companion, but I want to believe that my kids have what they need right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Christina. I loved our conversation. We talked about a lot of really important things, and thank you for sharing your heart, being so vulnerable with me today.
Welcome. Thank you for the space and this thing that you held for me.
You're welcome.
Hey, everybody still listening, will you go give a 5-star review to this podcast? Mitzi puts in so much effort and so much love into this. She's brilliant. She deserves it. So I am going to go right now. By the way, by the time you hear this and you go give your 5-star review, you should be able to go find my 5-star review of this podcast. But I just want to thank you for what you're doing.